Well, internal debate within the federal government is continuing over what can or should be done to reduce the burden of higher petrol prices. We have some parts of the country paying up to $2.50 a litre. A fuel excise is the only thing the government can do about it. Essentially, it's a flat sales tax on petrol of 44.2 cents for every litre of petrol that you buy. So, should it be paused, scrapped for a few months, reduced? Various ideas are out there. Let's bring in Liberal National Senator Susan McDonald for more on this. Thanks for your time. Is it a big issue in your electorate? Is that why you're raising your voice?
Yeah, look, it is huge, particularly in regional parts of the country where people drive further. All of our products come in on the back of trucks. This is an impact that is affecting cost of living. We already have, expensive flights to go east and west. And so the cost of fuel is something that's on everybody's lips.
So what specifically do you think should be done? What are you advocating to the Prime Minister that should be done to alleviate that situation?
Well, the first thing I did was to look into it and understand that the 44 cents a litre fuel excise that's in place, that goes to funding roads maintenance. And, I'm very conscious following the floods down the eastern seaboard that this requirement for replacement roads as well as maintained roads has never been more important. So that's $11 billion that we collect through that. If we were to reduce the fuel excise even by a few cents, will it make a difference to consumers? And so I'm turning my focus to the cost of living. And I know that the tax relief that was provided on the 1st of July last year to people up on wages of up to $120,000 a year, they received an additional $1,000 in tax relief. That has been critical, I think, in trying to offset some of these later cost increases. And the Treasurer is working on cost of living as a focus of this next budget.
So hang on, you're saying don't touch the excise, but extend tax relief, the low and middle income tax offset. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying, because as we look at the tax excise, while it's very attractive to say that the government should remove the excise, we're going to have to pay for this roads maintenance and roads replacement somehow. So if we remove it from the fuel levy, it is going to come out of some other section of the budget. So I think we've just got to be very conscious of the expenditure, where it comes from, right, where it's identified from.
But just on that, if the fuel tax was temporarily stopped or stopped for a year, the government doesn't bring in revenue. If you extend Lamito, as it's known, the government doesn't bring in revenue. You're doing the same thing. It's the same result.
Well, I guess that's what has got to be mapped out as which is going to be the most effective and the one that best directs the funding towards the people who are less able to offset it. So consumers and farmers, they're the ones who aren't able to pass these costs on. I know that it's been suggested that we're going to see higher prices at supermarkets. Well, we may, but those prices aren't going to be passed on to the banana farmer in Tully or the sugarcane farmer from the Burdekin. That's the nature of their contracts, and they're the ones who are most hurt by this. I don't want to see that the removal of excise ends up being a subsidy for big businesses to continue raising prices in other places. And that's why the work of the ACCC to make sure there's not price gouging is so important.
So essentially what you're saying is this is giving a similar amount of money back, but means testing it and not going to big business. That's what's behind this idea, is it?
That's right. It makes it more targeted, that it goes to the people who have the greatest impact, who have the lowest incomes and are the least able to pass the fuel increases on.
We had the Treasurer, when he was asked about extending the low and middle income tax offset anyway, he wasn't ruling it out. So if he were going to do that anyway, what you're saying today is no different from situation normal.
Oh, well, I think that this budget is going to unfold over the next few weeks. I've not been privy to what the Treasurer has decided, but I don't think anybody foresaw fuel prices increasing by 50 cents a litre since Christmas. Last week they increased 32 cents the terminal price, terminal gate price. So, you know, some of this stuff is very hard to plan for. I'm certainly seeing significant increases. It's $2.20 for fuel around here in Townsville. But what the solution is one that we're going to have to think carefully of, because I'm conscious of road maintenance.
Just finally and briefly, so would this just be a 1 year and then end it? Because there's no other argument for the low and middle income tax offset anyway. It was just meant to be temporary. It just keeps getting added another year to it.
Well, I think that the cost of living pressures that have come across through COVID have been extraordinary. And the ones who've borne the greatest brunt of that has been the transport industry. Border closures meant that trucks were left sitting, waiting for tests, having to go back to get clearances. There was crops left rotting in wholesale warehouses as well as on farms. And so there is a lot of pain being particularly felt in the transport industry. Fuel excises have increased to, not fuel excise, fuel levies have increased to 18 cents a litre, 18% per litre on transport costs. And, you know, a lot of these businesses are struggling to keep their heads above water. They're so important to this part of the nation. And so the sort of solutions that we're thinking about might have to be cross-jurisdiction, whether it's registrations and other incentives like that.
We'll have to leave it there. Susan McDonald, thanks for your time.